John Ulzheimer is known as one of our nation's most recognized credit experts. Having worked for 28 years in the credit industry, John has become one of the most prolific speakers about credit and the go-to authority on answers to credit-related questions. Credit Countdown with John Ulzheimer.
Hey there, this is John Ulzheimer. I am a consumer credit expert. 3 decades of experience in the credit industry. FICO, Equifax. It's the only job I've ever held after college is a variety of credit-related jobs. So kind of all I know. So today we're going to talk about a topic that is, I'm going to kind of bust a little bit of myths here today. And the question specifically is, what is the authenticity of adding utilities and or debit card information to my credit report? And you're probably wondering, why are you asking? What is that question? What's the value of this question? Look, if you're like me and you go to a lot of different credit-related websites just for research and such, you end up getting a lot of advertisements served up from the various social media networks because they see where you go and they serve up advertisements accordingly based on your habits, your web surfing habits. So I see a ton of advertisements for various credit-related products, normally credit building related products like, credit builder loans and other types of, rent furnishing types of services. And so the question is what is the authenticity of some of these as it pertains to your credit score? So, all right, we're going to have a very frank discussion of this issue, and I'm specifically going to talk about the value of adding transactions from your bank accounts to your credit reports. First off, you probably heard me mention the addition of debit card transaction. Debit card information can't be reported to the credit bureaus. I know what you see in advertisements, and I know what you see online, and some of these purport to be able to add debit card transactions to a credit report. They cannot. You don't need to take my word for it. You can take the credit industry's word for it. In the credit reporting industry's standards manual, which is called the Credit Reporting Resource Guide, which includes the Metro 2 credit reporting language and standards, it specifically states not to report debit card information to the credit reporting agencies because they're not an extension of credit. So the credit industry basically tells debit card issuers, don't report this stuff because it's not credit. That's number one, they're told not to. Number two, there's no systemic method to do so, meaning that there's no data, there's no alphanumeric characters, there's no field in the credit reporting language that you would stick debit card information and report it to the credit bureau. So it's almost like adding a 13th egg to a carton of 12 eggs. There's nowhere to put it. So even though you may want to deliver a 13th egg, you can't because there's nowhere to put it. All right, so that doesn't mean that by hook or by crook, some of these companies aren't figuring out a workaround to get information on a credit report, but it's certainly not showing up on your credit report as debit card issued by Joe's Bank, and because your debit card has no balance, right? Because all it is an electronic check connection between, it's a plastic check basically in credit card. So the question is can that help your credit score? The answer is no, because the only thing that can help a credit score is information that's actually on a credit report that is predictive of risk, that is considered by credit scoring systems. And so those are 3 very important things. So if it's not on a credit report, then you can't obviously consider it in a credit score because the credit scoring system can't see it. Number 2 is if it's not predictive of risk, then credit scoring systems are not going to be built to consider it, because they don't consider stuff that's not predictive of risk. And then number 3 is that if it's not something that's actually seen by the credit scoring systems, then it doesn't really matter if it's on a credit report or not because it's ignored and bypassed. That's the truth of it from here. You may be arguing, well, I see companies advertising that they can get debit card information on credit reports. So it's not uncommon that overdraft protection, so I'm not sure if you know what that is, but it's a really, really small pre-approved installment line of credit that is connected to a debit card. So if you go over or under the $0 mark on a debit card, the bank will actually fund those transactions even though you don't have that amount of money in any account in order to fund that transaction. And so the bank essentially will extend a tiny amount of credit to you in what's called an overdraft line of credit. Overdraft lines of credit are credit because the bank is essentially allowing you to go into debt with them, and they're willing to extend a small line of credit to you. So yes, debit card installment lines of credit or overdraft protection can be reported to the credit bureaus because they are really no different than any other personal line of credit. It just happens to be connected to a debit card. So yes, if some company has figured out some way to either surreptitiously or creatively get overdraft protection added to your credit report, there's a possibility that yes, can help a credit score. But I can tell you this, it's not going to turn a lousy credit score to a good credit score, because a lousy credit score is caused by negative information appearing on your credit reports, not because of the lack of some really, really small installment line of credit. So from my perspective, you have to be realistic with what you're being told. Turning 580s into 700s by adding a small overdraft line of credit to your credit report, I'm sorry, that just simply isn't going to happen. You're transcending bad credit to good credit, and that's not what the addition of anything is going to solve. It's the removal of stuff that actually solves those types of problems. So if you have any other questions, drop them in the section below and we'll talk about them. Nice talking to you. Have a good rest of your day. We'll talk again soon.
For more videos and credit tips from John Ulzheimer, go to www.tradelinesupply.com.